In the current hip-hop landscape, it's rare for an album rollout to feel truly cohesive, operating with the precision of a well-tuned instrument rather than the trial-and-error method of testing different strategies to see what works. However, Clipse managed to achieve this with Let God Sort Him Out, their first album as a duo in 16 years, released entirely without major label support. From the initial teaser to the final vinyl release, every step was deliberate, building excitement at every stage and demonstrating to fans why no one else can execute an independent rollout of this quality. Welcome to Celebrity Cookies, where the tea is always hot and the stories come with sprinkles of surprise. Make sure to subscribe, leave a comment with your take on the story. To fully appreciate the brilliance of this campaign, it's essential to understand the context. Over the past decade, the typical approach for major hip-hop releases has involved signing with a big label, making flashy social media announcements with elaborate trailers, releasing a star-studded lead single, and then flooding streaming platforms, radio, TikTok, and club DJs until the metrics justify the next single. This cycle treats art as a product, with very few artists straying from this model, and even fewer finding success independently. Enter Pusha T and No Malice, Clipse, the Virginia Beach brothers who made a significant impact in the early 2000s with albums like Lord Willin' and Hell Hath No Fury. Back then, they had the backing of Pharrell and Chad Hugo's Neptunes, along with Arista's marketing strength and Def Jam's influence. This time, they were on their own, independent and free to make their own choices while managing every aspect of the rollout. The result? A campaign that felt both timeless and modern, rooted in their legacy while employing the latest digital strategies. The rollout began quietly, without any flashy announcements or countdowns on their website. Instead, fans noticed subtle activity on Clipse's social media, a blurred studio photo, a behind-the-scenes video of Pusha and No Malice exchanging verses, and a mysterious hashtag LGSO. This single teaser post, a brief 10-second clip with minimal drums and soft vocal harmonies, was widely shared by dedicated fans, sparking discussions on platforms like Reddit and Hip Hop DX about the potential return of Clipse. A week later, they released the lead single Funeral March on all platforms. There were no requests for playlist placements or paid promotions, just a straightforward push to their fan base. The song made a strong impact with its gritty drums, Pusha's sharp verses after a long break, and No Malice's thoughtful, introspective response. Critics quickly began analyzing the lyrics, and influential DJs at stations like Hot 97 and NTS London picked it up organically. It felt reminiscent of the old-school mixtape buzz, even in an era dominated by TikTok dance trends. The second phase centered around visual storytelling. Clipse released a short film on YouTube called Let God Sort Him Out, the prelude, which was just under 4 minutes long. It featured a mix of archival footage of the duo from 2002 and new scenes of them walking through vacant church pews, accompanied by the song Funeral March. The film avoided flashy edits or MTV-style visuals, opting instead for raw imagery, cinematic composition, and a focus on substance over style. Within hours, it went viral among hip-hop enthusiasts, prompting analyses in outlets like Complex and The Fader that discussed what made Clipse's comeback feel special. The next move that set their rollout apart was the feature from Kendrick Lamar. When a prominent rapper or a label executive forces a feature into a project to boost streams, it often comes off as insincere. However, for Clipse, who had never depended on features for credibility, Kendrick's involvement in Chains and Whips felt like a genuine celebration of their legacy. The announcement was made through a simple Instagram countdown, 1 day to 1.0, followed by the track's release on Pusha's SoundCloud. This collaboration wasn't with a mainstream star like Drake. It was Kendrick, arguably the most respected lyricist of his generation, supporting Clipse's return. The respect it earned in both the streets and the media was clear, as Chains and Whips garnered over 5 million streams within 24 hours without any paid promotion. What followed was a clever controversy. Reports emerged that Def Jam had pressured Clipse to remove Kendrick's verse, likely due to tensions with Drake and the label's corporate ties. Instead of allowing this to derail their plans, Clipse embraced the situation. They publicly announced their departure from Def Jam to retain the verse. This principled stance generated a new wave of excitement, with fans rallying around the concept of artistic freedom, sharing memes with slogans like, Would you sacrifice a verse for a contract? And quickly pre-saving the album. Next came a smart strategy for vinyl and merchandise. Rather than the typical mass-produced vinyl many artists offer, Clipse released a limited edition of deluxe 2 LP sets pressed on black and silver marbled vinyl, with each copy individually numbered. Pre-orders started 3 weeks before the release and were accompanied by a direct email campaign to fans that included exclusive backstage passes to virtual listening parties and a chance to win a Zoom call with Pusha and No Malice. The packages sold out within 48 hours, showing that fans were eager to invest in physical copies instead of just streaming. The limited availability and high price, nearly $100 per set, caught the attention of Rolling Stone and industry publications, emphasizing that for certain releases, streaming is just one part of the equation. During the digital rollout, the emphasis was on enhancing audience engagement. Clipse hosted a series of AMA-style Twitter spaces featuring prominent writers and industry experts, where they analyzed individual tracks in real time. They also shared snippets of the album on Instagram stories, providing context. No Malice talked about the inspirations behind his lyrics, while Pusha clarified obscure references. This level of transparency is unusual in hardcore rap, which typically thrives on mystique, but it fostered a sense of community, allowing fans to feel part of the creative process rather than merely awaiting a product. All this preparation culminated in the album release. On launch day, Let God Sort Him Out debuted at number 4 on the Billboard 200, a remarkable feat for an independent release. It achieved the 7th largest streaming week for a rap album that year, with 118,000 sales in its first week. However, the critical acclaim was even more significant than the numbers. Major publications lauded the album's cohesiveness, thematic depth, and powerful delivery. Metacritic scored it in the mid-80s, which is uncommon for hip-hop projects today. Following this, they announced a tour, a short but intense series of intimate club shows followed by 2 larger performances, blending nostalgia with a reclaiming of space. Clipse performed at Brooklyn's Elsewhere, Chicago's Metro, and Los Angeles' Troubadour, venues with capacities between 500 and 1,500, all of which sold out quickly. The booking strategy was effective, allowing them to celebrate their legacy in smaller, personal settings before wrapping up with 2 nights at the 10,000-capacity Hollywood Palladium, creating a journey from underground to headliner. Ticket prices were kept reasonable, between $35 and $75, steering clear of the inflated VIP packages often seen on tours. This reinforced the notion that Clipse was driven by a passion for the art rather than financial motives. During their tour, Clipse fully engaged with real-time content. Each night, Pusha and No Malice hosted post-show Instagram lives, giving fans a behind-the-scenes look at the sweaty stages, DJ set tips, and their candid reflections, like No Malice sharing the spiritual significance of the album's title track in a back alley, or Pusha T freestyling a new verse inspired by the city they had just left. These live broadcasts created a sense of FOMO, encouraged word-of-mouth promotion, and reminded even casual attendees that this was a special experience. 6 months after the album's release, Clipse launched a deluxe edition that included 2 new tracks, extended interludes, and remixes from well-known producers. They teased this with a cryptic email titled Rebirth, featuring a tarot card-style visual, which drew both collectors and streaming-first fans back to the project. The deluxe rollout was straightforward, no unnecessary singles or chart-chasing collaborations, just enough new content to reignite interest and maintain the conversation until the end of the year. Looking back, every element of this strategy appeared intentional. There were no errors, no frantic attempts to chase trends, and no lapses in focus. In an industry where artists often compromise their brand through rushed collaborations and an over-reliance on fleeting viral tactics, Clipse demonstrated that it's possible to execute a flawless rollout by respecting your art, your audience, and your legacy. They showed that independent artists can still make a significant impact by taking the time to thoughtfully develop each phase of their project. While it's tempting to credit their success to nostalgia or their strong reputation, the reality is deeper. Clipse understood that they were not just promoting an album, they were telling a story about 2 brothers returning as seasoned leaders, about preserving independence in an era of industry consolidation, and about the lasting power of uncompromising lyricism. Every teaser, single, visual, and tour stop contributed to that narrative. With Let God Sort Him Out, Clipse sets a new standard for hip-hop rollouts. It proves that even in the streaming age, it's possible to create a campaign that feels cinematic, genuine, and ultimately unforgettable without the financial support of a major label. The album's impeccable execution has already inspired numerous articles and sparked discussions among artists about the future of independent releases. As streaming numbers, vinyl sales, and ticket sales continue to emerge, one thing is clear. Clipse didn't just release an album, they orchestrated one of the most impressive rollouts in hip-hop in years. In an environment dominated by trends and algorithm-based quick fixes, Clipse showcased a remarkable example of strategic patience and genuine creativity. For this reason, Let God Sort Him Out will be remembered not only as a fantastic album but also as a blueprint for achieving success, independently, flawlessly, and on your own terms. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this situation, so please share your opinions in the comments. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to stay updated on this story.